welcome to my first video in my Red Flags of Dating series. I do just want to go over a few quick things here. Some of these red flags are not necessarily red flags in terms of deal breaker material. They're just things that you want to be looking for. And also these videos are geared towards people that are looking for committed, monogamous, long-term relationships. If you're looking for other things, then some of these flags, so to speak, won't necessarily be applicable because they're not things that you're looking for. A lot of these tips can also transfer into your life if you're not dating necessarily online and you're dating and you notice some of these behaviors. These are some things that you just want to be cautious about. Some of the red flags are simply, signs that somebody is not ready for a long-term committed monogamous relationship. Some of these flags, and especially the really subtle ones, they're more towards avoiding manipulative people. Some of these really small things, I very much encourage you to not just overlook these things. The little things are very easy to overlook. When you're talking about getting to know people and putting yourself out there where you could essentially be meeting anyone, you do want to pay attention to the small things, just like you pay attention to the small things that are good. You also want to pay attention to these little subtle things that maybe just aren't adding up. And some of these red flags may not apply to you. Some of these are what I consider to be deal breakers in my relationships, and they might not apply to you. So just kind of keep an open mind about this as you're watching these. These are really just more designed to protect you and to protect your heart and even your mind in some of these cases, because there are some interesting characters out there. We'll just put it that way. So number one that I'm going to talk about today is inconsistencies within their dating profile. Some of these inconsistencies are very subtle, but sometimes you'll come across a profile where they will say one thing and then they'll essentially contradict themselves within the next sentence, or even when they're interacting with you, when they're messaging you, they're saying things that don't line up with the things that they said in their profile. Some of these things might be work related. I did communicate with somebody once who listed their profession as security, and then in their the essay portion of their profile they said that they were a chef and a musician. And then when I actually interacted with them, sent a few messages back and forth, it turns out that they actually worked at a grocery store. Now, there's nothing wrong with working at a grocery store, but a grocery store is not security. It's not a chef. Like, he wasn't cooking in this store. I believe he was like stocking produce or something like that. And his excuse was, oh, well, I used to do such and such. And, he knew that it said on his profile that he was doing one thing and he was doing another, and he still did not change it. That to me is a huge red flag. It's one thing if you just switch careers or switch jobs and you kind of forget to update your profile, because some people have their profiles up for a while and they're like, oh yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm doing this, I totally forgot. And then they change it. That's one thing. It's another thing if they are completely contradicting themselves, or if they're giving a lot of different answers to the same question. That is definitely a red flag. This particular person had a couple of other red flags as well. So this is something that you do want to be paying attention to. Number two, this is kind of similar to this, is they're quick to change their minds, especially about the big things. Now, I'm talking about people that list on their profile that they don't want to have children. And then you interact with them and say that you do want to have children, and you're like, I am looking for a relationship, and I am looking to have children or to have more children, whatever your situation may be. And then they turn around, they're like, yeah, you know what, I'm open to that too. Here's a real life example of somebody that I interacted with. This doesn't have anything to do with children, but it's still on topic. This person had on their profile that they were just looking for casual sex, friends with benefits type situation, or they were also looking for platonic friends. Now, a lot of their profile was very geared towards not wanting a relationship, really just looking for sex, and they even had a meme that said something, I don't exactly know what the meme was, but they posted the meme as one of their pictures that said something to the point of, long-term relationships can complicate your life or something like that. Anyway, it was pretty obvious that this person was just looking for casual sex, friends with benefits type situation. That's not what I'm looking for, and actually kind of kudos to him on this portion for being upfront and honest about it. However, he did contact me, and after reading his profile, I told him, I was like, well, I did read your profile, and you did say that you were open to platonic friendship. I told him, very frankly, that I'm not interested in friends with benefits, and I actually put that in my profile as well. And I was like, but if you want to connect maybe on a friendship level, I might be open to that, that kind of a thing. And his response message to me was, yeah, well, sex complicates things anyway, so I understand where you're coming from. What? That is literally the exact opposite of what his profile was saying. And at that point, I was just like, you know what, I'm done with this communication, and we stopped communication. That is a huge contrast. Be very careful about people that are willing to compromise on these really big issues, because most likely they're being deceptive, either to themselves or to you or to both. So you definitely want to steer clear of anybody that's very, wishy-washy about things and contradicting themselves. Again, this is similar to number one, where if they're contradicting themselves within their messages and within their profile, there's a dissonance there, and that's generally a sign of a pretty big deception. Number 3 is more of a yellow flag here. This one I was a little hesitant about putting it on there to begin with, because it's not necessarily something that's a bad thing, and it's not even necessarily something that is a sign of deception. But I have noticed my estimate would be 30 to 40% of people are lying or being, I would say, not truthful about this. And this is the new to the area, where they'll put in their profile, I just moved to the area. Now, this could be somebody that literally did just move to the area, and they're expressing that. Maybe they're expressing that because they're looking for somebody that's more of a native to the area in terms of finding, hobbies, things to do, things of that nature. But there are a lot of people that will say that they're new to the area when they just moved from like the next town over, or it's a complete lie altogether and they've lived, in this general area for most of their adult life. I don't know why they lie about this. I'm not sure what exactly it is that they're getting, but it is somewhat common. It's common enough for that to be a little bit of a flag. And I would say that if you do come across somebody that says new to the area, that you ask them, well, where were they from originally? How long have they been in the area? Those kind of things. And also, if you're looking for a committed, long-term monogamous relationship, or even polyamorous relationship, if you're into that, as long as you're, open and honest with both people. Anyway, if you're looking for a long-term relationship to somebody and they just moved from far away and they're just adjusting to their new environment, they might not be ready psychologically to be taking on a relationship. So that's something else that you might want to consider. Now, they could be ready. They could have moved to the area 6 months ago and are settled and are just saying, I'm new to the area, because maybe they don't go out very much and they don't know, the types of places to suggest for a first date or for a meeting or something like that. So this is really something it's a very yellow flag, but it's something that you do want to be mindful of, because a lot of manipulative people, for some reason, say that they're new to the area when they're not. Again, I don't know why. I don't really care. Deception is deception. I don't care why you're lying. If you're lying, you're lying. And not everybody that says that they're new to the area is lying, but you might want to use some caution when you're interacting with these types of people. Thank you. I hope these tips were helpful. I am going to do a series of these types of videos. There's going to be probably about 3 little red flags in each video, and I'll try to keep them brief, but I do feel that some of these need some explanation, because some of what I consider red flags, some people are like, really, that's a red flag? But then when I explain the reason why, people get a little bit of a better understanding. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.